The wind outside was merciless, howling through the empty parking lot of the small-town grocery store. Inside, the fluorescent lights flickered, casting a pale glow over half-stocked shelves and scuffed tile floors. It was just another ordinary evening for most shoppers, but for one person, it was the night their quiet battle against despair seemed almost impossible to win. Standing in line at the pharmacy counter, their hands trembled, not because of the cold, but because they were holding a prescription they desperately needed and a wallet that simply wasn't enough. The kind of moment that breaks a person from the inside, when health, dignity, and hope collide with the cruel weight of financial reality. Before I take you deeper into this heart-touching story, I want to pause for just a second. If you believe in the power of kindness, in the beauty of second chances, and in the way a single good deed can ripple through the world, then please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness. Together, we can spread more stories that remind the world there is still love and compassion out there. The person at the counter was Emily, a single mother in her mid-30s whose life had been rewritten by struggles she never asked for. Once full of energy and ambition, she had spent years working hard, balancing a modest job, and raising her son, Noah, on her own after her husband walked out when Noah was still in diapers. Life was difficult, but she kept her chin up, until an illness began to wear her down. Doctors had given her a treatment plan, but the cost of the medicine was staggering. Each refill felt like a punishment for daring to survive, a cruel reminder that in her circumstances, even survival came at a price too high. On this night, Emily had counted her money 3 times before leaving home. She had scraped together every bill and coin she could find, but she was still short. She already knew the answer before she asked the pharmacist. With a heavy voice and tears pressing at the corners of her eyes, she whispered, "Is there any way, maybe a discount? A smaller dose?" But rules were rules, and compassion couldn't change a system built on profit and numbers. The pharmacist's apology was kind, but it felt like a blade in her chest. Emily turned away, clutching the prescription bag she could not afford, and tried to swallow the lump in her throat. She had planned to walk out quietly, without letting anyone see the collapse of her hope. What Emily didn't know was that someone had been watching her, not in judgment, but in silent recognition. David, a store clerk in his early 40s, had been stocking shelves nearby. His job wasn't glamorous, but he was dependable, the kind of person people rarely noticed beyond the uniform and the smile he offered at the checkout counter. Yet behind his ordinary appearance was a heart that knew the pain of hardship too well. He remembered the nights when his own father went without medicine, the way it hollowed out his family's spirit, and the guilt of being powerless. He carried those memories like a shadow, and every time he saw someone else in the same position, the weight pressed heavier on him. As Emily shuffled toward the exit, David felt something stir inside him. He didn't think. He just moved. With quiet steps, he walked over to the counter, pulled out his own wallet, and paid for the prescription she had left behind. The pharmacist looked surprised, even asked if he was sure, but David only nodded. It wasn't about recognition or thanks. It was about giving someone else what he had once prayed for in his own darkest hours. He asked the pharmacist to slip the medicine into a plain paper bag and give it to Emily discreetly before she left. Emily was already near the door when she heard her name called softly. Confused, she turned back and saw the pharmacist holding out the bag. "Here," they said gently. "It's been taken care of." For a moment, Emily just stood there, stunned, her mind refusing to believe what she had heard. "Taken care of," she whispered. Her eyes darted around the store, searching for the face behind the kindness, but no one stepped forward. David had already slipped back into the aisles, pretending to busy himself with cans and boxes, his heart pounding as if he had just done something forbidden. Emily held the bag against her chest, tears streaming freely now. She didn't know who had done this, but she knew her faith in humanity had just been restored in a way she would never forget. The days that followed carried Emily through the storm she had thought she wouldn't survive. With the medicine in hand, her strength slowly returned, enough for her to keep working, to keep providing for Noah, and to keep believing in tomorrow. But the question of who had helped her never left her mind. She asked around gently, but nobody knew, or if they did, they weren't telling. Eventually, she accepted that maybe she wasn't meant to know. Maybe kindness was most powerful when it was given without strings, without the need for recognition. But the story didn't end there. One evening, weeks later, Emily returned to the same store. She was stronger now, a little more hopeful, and she carried with her a small basket of groceries for Noah. As she placed her items on the counter, she looked up and met the eyes of David. For just a flicker of a second, something passed between them, an unspoken recognition, like two souls who had crossed paths in a sacred way. David smiled politely, but his eyes gave him away. Emily didn't say anything out loud, but as she walked away, she whispered in her heart, "Thank you." And David, standing there in his simple uniform, felt a quiet warmth spread through him. He had never wanted thanks, but he knew she had found her answer. This act of kindness became the invisible thread that held Emily up in her hardest days. She carried it like a shield, a reminder that no matter how cruel the world could be, there were still people willing to sacrifice for others in silence. She told Noah, not about the details, but about the idea, that when you have even a little to give, you give, because you never know whose life might be saved by it. And Noah listened, absorbing the lesson that would shape him as he grew. David continued with his life much the same, stocking shelves, greeting customers, earning just enough to get by. But in his heart, he carried the peace that comes only from knowing you've made a difference. He didn't see himself as a hero. He wasn't rich, or powerful, or special in the way the world usually measures worth. He was just a man who refused to walk away when someone else was breaking. And sometimes, that is the purest form of greatness. As you listen to this story, I want to ask you something from the bottom of my heart. If Emily's journey, and David's silent act of kindness, touched your soul even a little, if it made you believe that compassion can still change lives, please take a moment right now to like this video, comment your feelings, share it with someone who might need hope today, and subscribe to Kindness. Every interaction helps us bring more of these true reminders of humanity to light. And before we close, I want to leave you with a special request. In the comments, write just one thing: kindness lives on. Let it be a way to honor David's choice, and to spread the belief that even small acts can ripple farther than we ever imagine. Because in the end, it wasn't just about the medicine. It was about the healing of the heart, the reminder that no matter how dark the night, there will always be someone, somewhere, who chooses to light a candle instead of cursing the darkness. And sometimes, that single flame is enough to save a life.